Despite the incredible popularity of Solo Leveling, an anime that truly set trends, the animation studio has yet to confirm a third season. The most recent information comes from an interview with the Solo Leveling development team, which included the director, producer, and part of the creative staff. In that interview, the producer announced that, for now, this is the end of Solo Leveling. However, he left open the possibility that this conclusion could be temporary or definitive, depending on audience support. If the response is overwhelming, the series could continue, but if not, this would be its definitive end. Given the ambiguity of these statements, in this video, we will thoroughly analyze whether there will be a third season or, alternatively, any other related projects, such as movies or additional productions. We will also assess how long we might have to wait to once again enjoy this universe, considering the production timelines of the first and second seasons. Will Solo Leveling have a prequel? The short answer is yes. The animation studio's producers will not pass up an opportunity like this. At the end of the day, money talks, and since Solo Leveling is one of the most popular anime of the past 10 years, it's logical that they would try to make the most of it. Now, if it's clear that there will be more content, why don't they directly confirm a third season? The reason is simple: it's not the most efficient approach from a marketing standpoint. When a season has just aired, the audience is still processing the ending, discussing the series on social media, and consuming merchandise. Announcing a new season immediately could dilute that impact. Instead, by waiting a few months before making the announcement, they keep interest alive and generate more anticipation. This approach also allows them to gauge audience reactions. If the second season was widely received, the hype will continue to grow, making the announcement of a continuation feel like a huge reward for fans. Additionally, by spacing out announcements, they ensure they remain in the spotlight longer, preventing interest from fading too quickly. Beyond all this, we must consider the enormous effort put into the first and second seasons. Now, the producers must evaluate how to continue the story. Why? Because the first two seasons have already covered about 50% of the manhwa, adapting up to chapter 100. This is where Aniplex's strategy comes into play, a company known for extending its franchises as much as possible. A clear example is Kimetsu no Yaiba, which, with only 200 manga chapters, has managed to stretch out over nearly a decade. If we apply this logic to Solo Leveling, it's doubtful that the anime will continue with the same adaptation pace. If 25 episodes have already covered half of the manhwa, only 2 more seasons would be needed to finish the story by 2027, which would mean the end of their Golden Goose. To avoid this, it's highly likely that between seasons, they will include movies adapting specific arcs, allowing the franchise to remain relevant for a longer time while maximizing profits. Despite the ambiguity in the producers' and directors' statements in the latest interview, everything indicates that there will be more productions within the franchise. The producers themselves have hinted at their enthusiasm for continuing to explore the story, even though they cannot yet confirm whether the series will continue immediately or if there will be a longer waiting period. What is clear, however, is that the numbers for Solo Leveling have been impressive across all platforms. From Crunchyroll, where it has consistently broken audience records, to its huge impact on social media, it's clear that this anime has become a global phenomenon. If you were worried that there wouldn't be a third season, rest assured. With the immense exposure and success it has had, it's practically a given that A-1 Pictures and Aniplex won't let go of such a lucrative franchise. Both companies have a history of fully capitalizing on their successes, and with an anime that practically guarantees sales and viewership, they won't waste this opportunity. What's at stake now is how they decide to continue the story. It's likely they are taking their time to plan the future of the series carefully. Another point to consider is the production structure. Originally, the first season was going to have 25 episodes, but it was split into 2 seasons, the first with 12 episodes and the second with 13. This allowed both to be released quickly since they were actually worked on together from the beginning. Therefore, if we consider these 2 seasons as practically one, it makes sense to think that the wait for the third season will be longer than the gap between the first and second. There is also a controversy that has been circulating on anime portals and social media. Solo Leveling hasn't been as relevant in Japan as it has been in the West. While in the West it dominates nearly every popularity chart, its impact in Japan has been more limited. Looking at the situation without sensationalism or hasty conclusions, one might think that being a Korean anime works against it in Japan. First, because it's not something the Japanese audience is used to, and second, because of the historical rivalry between the two countries. Part of this theory has some grounding. A clear indicator is that Solo Leveling's Blu-rays sold very few copies in Japan, not even making it into the top sellers, which means the sales were under 600 units. To put this in perspective, Re:Zero sold over 10,000 copies in its first week. However, this data alone is not conclusive. On Japanese streaming platforms, Solo Leveling remains consistently in the top rankings, showing that it is still a popular and appreciated anime in Japan, despite the low physical sales. Nonetheless, this is not something that should be overly concerning. The producers were fully aware of this situation, and from the start, they focused all their marketing strategy on the West, their true target audience. Additionally, there's another factor that could explain the lower popularity in Japan. In the series, although the Japanese are portrayed as advanced in technology and strategy, they end up losing several of their S-rank hunters in combat. This detail might generate some discomfort among the Japanese audience, as they may not feel represented as protagonists. Still, the fact that Solo Leveling isn't a massive phenomenon in Japan doesn't mean it won't have sequels. From the beginning, the producers' focus was to make the anime succeed outside of Japan, and judging by the results, the strategy has worked perfectly. When will the third season or a possible movie be released? Regarding the release date for a potential third season or sequel in the form of a movie, the information we have indicates that the producers and creative team have been working tirelessly for the past 2 years. Let's remember that the first season was initially planned to have 25 episodes, but the production company decided to split it into 2 seasons. This means that, as soon as the first season ended, the production team was already working on the first episode of the second season. Taking this into account, and considering that animators and screenwriters also need rest and time to properly plan the structure of the next season, it is reasonable to assume that A-1 Pictures will take some time before launching the continuation. This will allow them to maintain the quality of the first 2 seasons. Therefore, I estimate that the third season and/or a movie could be released by March 2026 at the latest. This time frame would allow for well-planned work without disappointing fans' expectations. Now, you might think the wait could be even longer, but the reality is I don't believe so. A-1 Pictures and Aniplex are marketing experts, and they know that if they take too long, public interest will gradually decrease. If they delay the release of a movie or third season, by the time it comes out, it could have lost its relevance. To avoid this, the most likely option, and one that many major studios have used, is to release a prequel movie that adapts part of the next arc. In this case, it would be the arc where Jinwoo establishes his own guild and, later, another arc centered on discovering what the system is and what happened in the Double Dungeon. This makes a lot of sense. A movie doesn't require as much effort as a full season since it's roughly equivalent to 5 to 7 episodes. Such a feature film could be released in early 2026, allowing the animation team more time to work on the third season, which could arrive by the end of 2026. In this way, they would not only maximize profits but also ensure the highest possible quality production while keeping the franchise active without letting public interest wane. In conclusion, Solo Leveling is too successful a franchise for A-1 Pictures and Aniplex to let it fade into obscurity. Although the producers haven't confirmed a third season immediately, everything points to more content in the future. The studio has followed a well-thought-out marketing strategy, leaving gaps between announcements to maintain public interest. Additionally, considering the industry's history, it's highly likely they'll release a movie before the next season, ensuring the hype is maintained and the franchise's life is extended. While the wait might seem long, there's no need to worry. Solo Leveling has dominated the anime scene in recent years, and its popularity in the West is undeniable. A-1 Pictures knows they can't afford to lose their audience and will do everything possible to maintain the quality and excitement of the series. So, even though there is no official date yet, we can be almost certain that Solo Leveling will have a continuation. The only question is when and in which format it will arrive first. Thank you very much for watching until the end. Subscribe for more Solo Leveling and anime. See you soon.